Helps if I have the camera on. Hi, and welcome to the Friday night Regency romance visual novel stream. I am Matthew, one of the co-hosts of Book Club for Masochists, a reader's advisory podcast, a podcast where every month we read a different genre of fiction or nonfiction and then discuss the books, and we have to read them whether we like them or not. I'm screwing up this intro. Anyway, in January, we're reading Regency romance novels, which I do not like, but I do like visual novels. So I thought, hey, maybe I can find some Regency romance visual novels and play those, and maybe I'll enjoy them more. We'll see how that goes. This is the second one. I did one last week. And joining me is my podcast co-host, RJ.
That's me, RJ. I wasn't sure if you were going to say my name or if I should.
It doesn't really matter. Yeah, I guess we did not establish how that was going to happen. Anyway, so we're going to go. And the episode about Regency romance, if you're interested, is coming out beginning of February, first Tuesday in February. Can't remember exactly the date is. And you can search for a Book Club for Masochists on any podcast place or bookclub4m.com. And if you're really into visual novels, we also did an episode about visual novels a few months ago that you can check out. But without further ado, let's get into this game.
Now, do you know how to say the title of this game?
So I was about to ask, that was going to be my first question for you, RJ. I've never read this book. In my mind, I'm like, is it Northanger? It can't be Northanger. Like, that seems ridiculous. Northanger? Northanger?
I feel like you got to put a little British flair on it, like Northanger.
See, like, despite being born in the UK, I cannot do any of that.
Dave is telling us to say it British style.
So like
Northanger.
But like British style could be anything. It could just be like, oh yeah, you don't pronounce anything between the R and the G. So it's just Nor Abbey.
That's true.
But yeah. Oh, and Dave, thanks for subscribing to the Twitch channel. We don't really stream that much, but we are here sometimes.
We are. It's
yes.
true.
But let's get into the game at any rate. So I'll start, and I turned on background image descriptions, and I can't seem to turn it off, but they're there. Okay, so apparently, RJ, you nailed it.
Nice.
Maybe. Dave
also says the book sucks. That's great, because neither of us have read it. So
have not read it.
We're going to be stumbling through this.
So welcome to Abbey. How would you like their story to begin? I've gotten this far before in this game. The same manner as the original novel, so definitely not that. In a manner of my specific choosing. Surprise me, or I'm sorry, could you explain all this a little more? Let's go with option 4, I think, and have this explained.
Sure.
Apologies for any confusion. Those unfamiliar with the conventions of the visual novel are advised to read the included guide to visual novels. Yep, okay. Adaptation of Jane Austen's novel, written in 1803. The interactive questions allow the player to change the nature of the story and its progression. Okay. If the player chooses to preserve the status quo of the original novel, the protagonist is a good-hearted, shy young woman from England as it really existed in the early 19th century. So, very dull to me. Otherwise, the protagonist, you, can have multiple genders and gender presentations, which the player can either choose directly or leave to the whims of chance. Some might argue that even the canonical scenario involves, for example, rather more trans people than might be expected from a Jane Austen adaptation. The BBC once cast Henry Tilney as blonde. Blonde! Okay. Choices made throughout the game affect your personality traits and how various characters feel about you. In the end, you may find love or friendship with Henry Tilney, his sister Eleanor Tilney, or no one. So we've got 3 choices. This author hopes one day to implement relationships with the various other characters, but for now, those arcs are cut short. Okay. And now we return to the most dramatic of choice, the nature of society itself. If the player chooses to put men in charge of society, the setting remains that of the novel, England as it existed in the early 19th century, more or less. But if the player chooses to give control to women, the setting changes to an England where women are, and always have been, dominant. All female characters become male, and vice versa, and assigned genders are switched similarly. For example, the priest Henry Tilney remains a priest, but is now Helen Tilney, and has changed appearance to match. The author suggests that players not worry over long about how such a society might form or function. We certainly did not. Yeah, okay. How would you like your story to begin? So I think we want to choose how we want this to go.
Oh, for sure.
Okay. So we find ourselves in England at the dawn of the 19th century. Society is divided among strict hierarchical lines, those of class, of ethnicity, and most significantly, of our purposes, of gender. Only one gender is allowed the right to vote, to own property, to be fully considered a person, and that gender is naturally, we have to choose.
We're making a matriarchy. Yeah, okay. Absolutely.
Yes, women are and have always been the ruling class. Yet there are men and women who refuse to submit to society's rules, and even those who refuse to identify as men or women at all. But enough of society. Let us talk about something much more important, which is to say, let's talk about you. No one who had ever seen you in your infancy would ever suppose you born to be a hero.
That's the first line of the novel. I did read the first page of the novel today.
Okay, because you were born to be a heroine, because your heroism transcends gender, but they were wrong. So I guess, what do you think?
I mean, I'm inclined to transcend gender.
Yeah, okay, I'm down with that one. Okay, so we're gonna transcend gender. Your family was most unpromising. Your parents were both sensible, decent people, and despite all reasonable expectations, your mother survived your birth. Now, a delicate question you are free not to answer. Does your gender match the one your parents expected? Considering we don't have a we transcend gender?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we could go with I'd rather not say.
I kind of like the idea that our parents expected a child that transcended gender. I wonder what I would rather not say leads to, though. I'm so curious.
Yeah. That is a curious option. I mean, it feels very much like the social media thing of, I wonder if that one, well, I don't know. I guess I don't know.
Oh, this is
like
so
if
tough.
That was a social media option, would be the one that would give us like gender neutral pronouns, but I don't know if that's the case here.
True. Yeah, that probably is what it is. Although this is what our parent,
yeah, if this aligns with what our parents think.
Yeah. No. Well, let's. Okay. I would rather not say. I don't understand what this is. Very well. As a child, you generally preferred cricket to nursing sick baby birds, and if you gathered flowers at all, it was chiefly for the pleasure of mischief. You were neither clever nor accomplished, though whenever you could seize upon any odd piece of paper, you would draw horses and trees, hens and chickens.
Houses and trees.
Houses, horses, whatever. All very much like one another. You hated confinement and cleanliness and loved nothing so well in the world as rolling down the green slope at the back of the horse. But at 15, your love of dirt gave way to an inclination for finery, and you grew clean as you grew smart. From 15 to 17, you were in training, reading everything from Pope to Shakespeare that might have relevant wisdom for a young heroic figure to be.
Is that one of our stats?
I was about to ask, when do we find out about our strength and agility, or maybe those have already been. What you lack in cleverness, you make up for in innate goodness. You have longed to curl your hair and pinch your cheeks and spend at least 3 hours a day wistfully longing for balls.
I read that line differently than they intended.
Me too. Cricket balls, evidently. Nothing brought you greater delight than the day you heard your father refer to you as almost handsome. What kind of figure do you have? Thin and awkward, lithe and delicate. Number 2?
I mean, we're thin either way, it seems. Yeah, let's go with delicate.
And your skin, sallow and without color, ethereal and golden. Whoa.
Huh.
Apparently, almost handsome is canon from the book. According to the chat. Sallow and without color is what I would choose, I think.
Yeah, let's go with it. If this is the character representing us.
What of your hair? Dark and lank, like a river of ebony. Well, number 2 seems much better.
We're making a very goth character. Yeah, let's go
Okay. What is this stream, RJ? This stream is usually spooky romance visual novels.
No, this is good.
There's literally a bat on the wall behind me.
Yep.
You perfectly balance confidence with a charming humility.
Confidence.
Yet, despite your hard work and fine qualities, at 17 you have still not met one youth who called forth your sensibility nor inspired a single real passion. But when a young person is to be a heroic figure, something must and will happen to throw a heroic love their way. And so it is that your family friend, Mr. Allen, invited you on a trip with him to Bath. Bath seems to have played a much larger part in society in the early 19th century than it does currently. You are about to go to your first ball. Your gender is your own, and you may find love with whoever you like best. Your parents never force you to perform in any way that you are incapable of or find distasteful, whether it be musical instrument or a style of dress. But wider society expects people to fulfill certain roles. What do you wish to be perceived as the world? What do you wish to be perceived as by the world at large? A woman dresses and dancing with men for me. A man suits and dancing with women for me. Neither. I shall defy expectation and dance with everybody.
Oh, we're dancing with everybody, I think.
Definitely. Also, like, I hope we can be that allows us to wear either of the options of clothing.
We want all the options.
Yes, suits and dresses at the same time. Perfect.
Yay!
The world might not expect much of M. Kit Moreland, but you shall prove it wrong.
Oh, Kit, that's so funny. The name of the protagonist in the original is Catherine, and Kit is such a good, like, non-binary classic name.
Yeah. You may risk society's censor, but what is the opinion of society to a heroic figure on a quest for romance? It is now expedient to give some description of Mr. Allen, that the player may be able to judge in what manner his actions will hereafter tend to promote the general distress of the world, and how he will probably contribute to reduce you to all the desperate wretchedness of which a bad end is capable. Oh my gosh, this... I'm sure this is very authentic, and I find it very hard to read. So, Mr. Allen is one of that numerous class of individuals whose society can raise no other emotion than surprise at there being anyone in the world who could like them well enough to marry them. In one respect, he is admirably fitted to introduce a young person into public, being as fond of going everywhere and seeing everything himself as any young, gentle person could be. Dress is his passion. Your entree into life could not take place till after 3 or 4 days had been spent in learning what was mostly worn, and Mr. Allen had acquired a coat of the newest fashion. Oh, so did we swap this person's gender as well then? I guess so.
Yeah, I think so. I think because we chose the matriarchy, it swapped the genders of all the secondary characters.
As your first ball begins, I hope we get to choose clothing. As your first ball begins, your only hope is to avoid censure. You have only just arrived in Bath and know no one here. It is too much to hope for a dance. Bummer. Despite all Mr. Allen's attention, you seem not to have attracted anyone's notice for good or ill. Okay, ask Mr. Allen to introduce you to someone. Leave Mr. Allen. Watch the people around you closely.
Are we going to get introduced? Are we going to people watch?
Let's ditch Mr. Allen.
You think so? Oh, I was leaning towards 1 or 3.
Okay, we can do number 1. Like, I was thinking, like, be bold. Let's, but if you want to, or like not even bold, like, because in the game we played last week, just dancing with someone whose name we didn't know was a terrible controversy. So we could go do that again and just be like so controversial. They're just like, oh my gosh, they're without a chaperone. But you want to do number 1?
Yeah, I want to meet somebody. I want to get some dialogue started so I can say some lines.
Oh, here you go, right away.
All right. I wish I had a large acquaintance here with all my heart, and then I should get you a partner. I should be so glad to have you dance. There goes a strange-looking man. What an odd coat he has got on. How old-fashioned it is. Look at the back.
Yes, Mr. Allen. The bell is rung for tea. You sit awkwardly at the end of another party's table. Since you have not been introduced, you may not speak, and they seem to resent your presence. Well, I resent their presence. The only untroubled souls at the table appear to be Mr. Allen and the servant setting out the tea. Complain to Mr. Allen, talk to the servant, watch the people around you closely.
We want to talk to the servant?
Okay, so in the chat, we've just been asked, is it gay yet? We've made it into a matriarchy, and we transcend gender.
Yeah, we're playing a non-binary protagonist, and the genders of all of the secondary characters have been swapped.
Yes. And we chose like every non-binary option available for us. I think there were 3 different ones. So, yes, we've accomplished a lot already. Okay. I kind of want to talk to the servant.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. The advantage of a servant over the other inhabitants of the room is that you are permitted to talk to her without having been introduced. Hello.
Hello, may I be of assistance?
Yes. The disadvantage of a servant is that the range of subjects upon which you are permitted to converse is unfortunately limited. You struggle to think of something to say. Perhaps you could ask her the time.
Yes, would you like some tea?
That will have to do. Yes, please. She attempts to pour you some tea. Unfortunately, the tea refuses to pour. What?
This tea's broken. Sorry.
Offer to help. We have to help. I'm not going to just...
Yeah, for sure.
What heroic figure could abandon an innocent woman in distress? May I be of assistance?
Oh no, there's no need.
She struggles a few moments more. Oh my god, what is wrong with this teapot?
I'm really curious what the issue is.
Is this in the book? Are you sure?
I don't know. If it wouldn't be too much trouble.
You open the teapot and pour inside. It's hard to make out much detail in the murky gloom. But the mystery cannot elude your keen eye for long. There appears to be a lump of leaves stuck at the entrance to the spout. May I borrow a spoon?
Please let me. You might stain your gloves.
Oh my gosh, we're wearing gloves inside. So the chat says that tea is not a challenge in the books, as far as I recall. So this is an addition. The servant pokes inside the pot with a spoon and soon is able to serve you a cup of tea. This servant is like not very competent. If they said like several moments incapable of pouring tea and didn't check to see if there were leaves blocking the thing.
Maybe it's her first day on the job.
True. I guess that's why they're serving us, the people that don't know anybody.
Right.
Mad Dog hoping for supernatural reasons. I don't think there's going to be any ghosts in this game, unfortunately. Having vanquished the obstacle in your path, you enjoy the spoils of war. No tea has tasted sweeter. Well, how much sugar did we add to this tea? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
She smiles at you, curtsies, and then turns as if to leave. She's at work after all, but having finally achieved a conversation, however shallow, you are loath to let your conversational partner escape quite so quickly. Is it always this crowded? The servant blinks at you. You're edging towards overly familiar topics for two people of such differing social stations.
Aye, I would say so. Things get quiet later in the year, of course.
You give a sigh. Oh my gosh, I'm so sad looking. I see. She chuckles. Her accent is far more charming to you than that of most servants and difficult to pin down. Sometimes West County, sometimes more exotic, perhaps Irish or even Bavarian.
This is a great cover for me not doing a consistent accent. You'll get used to it.
The accent? Maybe. It is only your imagination that detects a more noble tone revealing itself from time to time beneath the coarser cadences of her speech. Perhaps the poor woman was born to a higher station and brought low by unscrupulous relatives or an unexpected revolution. Well, those are definitely things in romance novels. Mm-hmm. Has Bavaria had any revolution of late? You generally ignore political news. Who could have predicted that it would ever be of use? The suggestion that this servant is clearly a spy. A spy for Bavaria?
I guess.
Would it be strange to ask? Oh my gosh. Okay, what are we going to get to ask? Oh no.
Mrs. Smith. Oh, this is a different person.
Yes.
Mrs. Smith, there are patrons waiting for their tea. My apologies. I'll be there in a moment. Kit, what are you talking to those servants about? Is there a problem with the tea? There was such a problem with the tea.
It wouldn't pour. Mrs. Smith and the other servant bow and then depart. There was, Mr. Allen, but it is now mended.
Thank heavens. Can you imagine anything more dreadful than a lack of tea?
No, Mr. Allen. And now it is time to go home, and you have danced with no one and spoken to no one but a servant. But wait, did that lady just describe you to her friend as comely? Best ball ever. Another day, another lonely circuit of the crowded assembly room. Oh my god, do we want to go after the servant again?
Ooh, I kind of like that we're sort of disrupting the social order here by making a servant our romantic entanglement.
Like,
probably, unless it is a spy.
Like, I don't think we can actually romance them, but like it's one of those things where like I like disrupting the social norms, but
sure,
it is also putting this person in a very awkward situation.
Yeah, and we picked like introduce us to someone last time, and that he just didn't.
True. So I guess let's just go see if we can find the servant again. You make your excuses to Mr. Allen and attempt to track down Mrs. Smith. As you strain your eyes for her brightly colored livery, you rack your brain for a topic of conversation. Teapots. Perhaps you could say you are investigating possible situations for a dependent of your mother's. You know she has found positions for the children of the staff in the past. At last you spot the woman you seek, efficiently laying out cups and saucers out on the table. Excuse me again. I know this is very strange, but
Yes, madam. Sir. May I be of service?
Is this the same person? I thought this was the other person.
This is the maid. Yeah, I think we're going to ask where Mrs.
Okay.
Smith is.
Oh, well, my mother, you see, was wondering. She smiles at you patiently and without the slightest hint of recognition. You slowly realize that this is not the same servant you spoke to before. My apologies.
Oh.
She continues to smile patiently. Do you know a footman here by the name of Smith?
Smith? Do you mean Jane Smith?
Perhaps?
Jane Smith is the only Smith I know working here. But, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. She was, as of this morning, she is no longer employed by this establishment. Definitely a spy.
No, just couldn't pour tea properly.
That's true.
This morning, what happened to her?
I do not mean to be rude, but I am not sure that she would wish me to stay.
Definitely couldn't pour tea properly. But she's not unwell or in danger?
Not to my knowledge.
You suddenly feel very silly, poking around in this woman's business when you only have spoken a few words. Very well, thank you for your help. I will be going now.
As you wish.
And so you return to your lonely position at the edge of the room, unable even to find Mr. Allen again in the crush of the crowd. Finally, the mistress of ceremonies takes notice of you, and you are at last introduced to a young priest by the name of Mrs. Helen Tilney.
Good evening.
Mrs. Tilney is about 4 or 5 and 20, is rather tall, has a pleasing countenance, a very intelligent and lively eye, and, if not quite handsome, is very near it. After some initial confusion over your dress, Mrs. Tilney asks you to dance, and then you drink tea and chat for some time on such matters as naturally arise from the objects around you. Weird. As much as you were determined to scoff at society's expectations, part of you was worried that your appearance would repel potentially partners of all genders. Yet Mrs. Tilney seems not to care, and those watching you dance appear to have decided that if you're dancing with a woman, then logically you cannot be one yourself. Okay, we have to go find a guy to dance with next.
Right.
You hear one gentleman tell his friend that floral hats are all the rage this year in London. I hadn't even thought that her hat might be considered like womanly.
Gendered.
Yeah, it's a top hat. It's very top hatty to me.
I love that we're trendsetters now.
True. All the rage.
I have hitherto been very remiss, friend, in the proper attentions of a partner here. I have not yet asked you how long you have been in Bath, whether you were ever here before, whether you have been at the upper rooms, the theatre.
Oh, you need not give yourself that trouble, madame. It is true. You are quite awful. Oh, I so want to choose the second option.
I can't tell if it's in a joking tone or not. There's no
I cannot either at all.
no indication.
Well, whatever. Let's go with it.
We could, yeah, we've got other options. I know. Worry not. I shall be sure to do my duty thoroughly.
Okay, so it wasn't like totally insulting.
Have you been long in Bath, friend?
About a week, madame.
Really?
Why should you be surprised, madame?
Some emotion must appear to be raised by your reply, and surprise is more easily assumed and not less reasonable than any other. I'm having a lot of trouble figuring out the cadence of this person's speech.
Like, this sounds like a narrator.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not... It doesn't sound like a line of dialogue at all. Okay. Laugh at her joke, frown at her, be awkwardly silent.
I think be awkwardly silent based on both of our reactions to that statement.
Okay, sure. Let's go with that. We called her awful. Okay.
She seemed to be just fine with that.
Oof. Oh, she's very unhappy.
Oh no. I see what you think of me. I shall make but a poor figure in your journal tomorrow.
I'm going to go back. I'm going to laugh at her joke.
Okay. Oh, she still didn't like that?
Or maybe it is.
Or maybe it's like...
It might be locked in. I don't know.
It's locked in, yeah. We're awkwardly silent.
Okay. Like sometimes these things let you go back and make the option choices again, but sometimes you can't. So I think it looks this time maybe not. Okay, so we screwed this up big time. My journal.
Yeah, oh, she was just fucking with us.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I know exactly what you will say. Friday I went to the lower rooms, wore my velvet coat with satin trimmings, plain black shoes, appeared to much advantage. But was strangely harassed by a queer half-witted woman who would make me dance with her and distressed me by her nonsense.
Yep, queer in more than one sense of the way, I believe. Indeed, I shall say no such thing. Indeed, I shall say exactly that. Frown at her. see, like now I feel like
now we're ribbing each other.
Yeah, so I feel like saying the second thing is the funny option.
Yeah, I shall say exactly that. Yeah.
Okay, she's smiling now.
I knew it. And now for what I wish you to say. I danced with a very agreeable young woman, introduced by Mrs. King. Had a great deal of conversation with her. Seems a most extraordinary genius. Hope I may know more of her.
But perhaps I keep no journal.
Not keep a journal. My dear friend, I know the ways of young people. My dear Kit.
Yes, Mr. Allen?
Do take this pin out of my sleeve. I'm afraid it has torn a hole already. I shall be quite sorry if it has, for this is a favourite coat, though it cost me 9 shillings a yard. It cost me but 9 shillings a yard. Seems like a lot. I don't know a lot about shillings, but seems like the joke is probably that that's a lot.
I think true. Okay, I don't get the pin out of the sleeve.
I don't know.
Some sort of jewelry pin, maybe. I'm clearly not an expert in 19th century fashion.
That is exactly what I should have guessed it, sir.
Okay, is she insulting him? I cannot tell.
Do you understand muslins, madam? Particularly well. I always buy my own gloves, and my brother has often trusted me in the choice of a coat.
Oh my gosh, trusting your sibling with buying you a coat. My word.
Yeah, I would not trust my sibling with that. You must be a great comfort to your brother, madame. I hope I am, sir. And pray, madame, what do you think of M. Moreland's jacket?
It seems so weird to me that it's M and not like MX. Mm-hmm. Like, I know MX would not have been used. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
It's very handsome, sir, but I do not think it will wash well. I am afraid it will fray.
How can you be so strange? Like, yeah, we've got to go with that one, right?
I love that. An excellent question, and I can offer no answer for it.
No, now we're both upset.
Oh, no.
And then you dance again and part on friendly terms. Okay.
Okay. Really hard to read the tone of this conversation.
I have no idea. Also, like, I think there's a big age gap here.
Yeah, I think that's probably true of the book as well.
Yeah. So definitely
Henry in the original.
Yes.
Is older. But I don't know.
I don't know how old we're. Like, did it say how old we are? 17, 18?
Ooh, I have no idea.
Okay. You enter the pump room the next day and ready yourself to meet Mrs. Tilney with a smile. Do you know what a pump room is?
A room with a pump in it. No.
Okay. You did not find her entirely charming, but an imperfect acquaintance is better than none. But no smile is demanded. Miss Tilney does not appear. Da da da.
Oh no.
Every creature in Bath, except herself, is to be seen in the room at different periods of the fashionable hours.
She was taken out by the spy.
Yep.
What a delightful place Bath is, and how pleasant it would be if we had any acquaintance here.
How do we keep getting invited to these things?
I don't know. I assume Mr. Allen has something.
He seems incompetent at best. I don't know. Just a strange person. Yes, Mr. Allen.
Oh, a new person. Mr. Allen? Wait, is that... Mr. Thorpe? What an unexpected pleasure. Kid, this is my old school friend, Mr. Thorpe. I have not seen him these 15 years at least. Who would have guessed I would meet him here in Bath?
Not I. Yet the name Thorpe sounds oddly familiar.
Mr. Thorpe, this is M. Kit Morland, the child of a friend of ours from Fullerton. Do you like Kit's jacket? I worry it will fray. For myself, I prefer this new silk. It was only...
Mr. Thorpe blinks at you for a moment, then goes on to ignore you entirely.
Wow, rude. Yes, you must tell me all about it. But first I must tell you how my children are doing. Jane is at Oxford, you know, top of her class and well and respected by all her peers. Winifred is at sea, and I am certain that an admiralship is not too...
Mr. Thorpe is a widower, and not a very rich one. He is a good-humored, well-meaning man, and a very indulgent father. This brief account is intended to supersede the necessity of giving much dialogue to a character who is quite clearly not a love interest.
Thanks for that. And there's my eldest son, Isaac. Is he not a fine young man? Isaac?
Is not he a fine young man?
Is not he a fine young man? Thank you.
Oh my gosh.
Papa? Isaac, my dear, this is my old friend Mr. Allen and his friend M. Morland. How excessively like their sister M. Morland is.
Oh, we have a sister? You know
Yes.
Oh, you're the family of the friend Jemima stayed with over Christmas. Your elder sister Jemima spoke very highly of the Thorpes in her letter. You decide that if a priest in training thinks well of them, then they must surely be good people. It would also appear that Jemima has acquainted the family with your choice of pronouns, thus saving you the awkwardness of having to explain them yourself.
Sweet. Yes, Mrs. Morland was so charming. And so, M. Morland, you and I are already friends. I'm making a choice to voice this character as if he is like 4 years old.
I was going to say,
Papa?
Also, like, if you're older than 8, I don't think that's how friends work.
Right. Although your dress is so charmingly ambiguous, I'm not sure if I should ask you to take a turn around the room with me or wait for you to ask me to dance.
Are those different things?
I think based on who's asking who.
Oh, okay. I would love to dance with you if you would like. Oh, that's a perfectly ambiguous kiss.
Mm-hmm. Of course. Nothing could be more natural. Are you enjoying your time in Bath, M. Morland?
I like that we're not even looking at each other. Well,
Yeah. I must admit myself rather tired of it. The balls here are larger than the one... Sorry. The balls here are larger than the ones in Tunbridge. Tunbridge?
I would say Tunbridge, but who knows?
Tunbridge. But there are not half as many fine coats. I am so used to the plays in London that the theatres here have become quite horrid.
Yep. I bet they are.
A lot of coat talk.
I have never been to London. Is it so very different? Bath seems fine to me, but I have traveled little. Oh, you're missing out, buddy.
Oh, you must visit London, M. Morland. I'm sure you would have a marvelous time. I'm surprised that the Allens have not taken you there.
I read that as aliens.
A twist.
Would have definitely made this a far different story. But
I must admit I envy you a little, to be young and to see the world anew. Such innocent pleasures are but a distant memory for an old man of 21. I'm so glad we got a canonical age for this character that I'm
this 4-year-old
voicing
child.
as an elementary school student.
Okay, we got to do the second one. Yes, it must be very difficult.
I was okay. We can do it. Yeah. You are too kind, M. Morland.
I'm sorry.
I was thinking it'd be funny to be like, you don't seem that old to me, since he speaks in our version.
True. Okay.
Like he has never left the house.
Oh, I thought we would insult him, but I don't know which one would be an insult.
Yeah. Ah, look, that woman is flirting with me. She turned her head as we walked by.
So, RJ, how many balls have you been to?
What is a ball? Is prom a ball? Because I've been to proms, and I understand this is not a Canadian thing.
No, proms exist in Canada, or like
Really?
they're called like grads sometimes.
Ah, right, grads.
Yeah, like I had one. I don't think like they don't have the same significance often, or the same things. I don't know what rituals are associated with them in America. Like I don't think we had like a prom royalty. But the thing is, like, also, I'm the sort of person that would completely ignore that. So,
Absolutely.
okay.
If that had happened, you did not notice.
So, are we going to say they're very comely and hit on them? Gosh, or are you sure?
Seems like flirting, neutral, or negging are our
Yeah.
options.
Gosh? Or
Yeah,
do we
let's go
wanna
gosh.
okay.
It's
Mad Dog,
important.
Mad Dog in the chat saying mine was low key, but mostly the same. I assume they're talking about graduation things, dances in Canada. Sorry.
It is important to pretend not to notice, of course.
Your conversation continues in this way, encompassing the full spectrum of possible conversation, from dress and balls to flirtations and quizzes. Whoa, quizzes! That's a new topic of conversation.
And Morland, I do so love talking to you. We understand each other so completely.
You know, okay.
I'm really convinced this character is, based on the dialogue for the most part, is like 8 and not 21.
Oh my gosh, maybe it's two children sitting on top of each other. That I was going to mention that I thought that the bottom button of waistcoat was supposed to be undone, but maybe it's done up all the way to hide the fact that it's two children on top of each other.
This is 2 toddlers. Yeah.
Yes. Isaac is not the most charming man you've ever met, but he seems determined to like you. Then, just when you thought he had demonstrated his full repertoire of conversation, he mentions the one topic guaranteed to cement your friendship. Okay, what do you think it is?
Ooh, we know so little about our own character.
Yes.
Flowers, tea, overthrowing the class structure,
Like cake, hats. Mad Dog is
Cake,
suggesting
hats.
hats.
Hats. Yep, we do have a very fancy hat.
Romance.
Romance. Oh, in the original book, it's the main character reads a lot of novels, so it might be books.
It could be books. It could be books. Let's find out. Ah.
Yes, nailed it. May I ask, have you by chance ever read any of the novels of Mr. Aaron Radcliffe?
Gasp.
And Morland?
Is he not the finest author you have ever read?
I am quite certain that there exists no finer prose than the passage where Adolphus discovers the manuscript in the Abbey in the Romance in the Forest. Romance of the Forest.
Oh, but what of Theodosia's trial? Nothing could have been more thrilling. I was so sure she would be killed.
Nay, not when Adolphus loved her so. I knew the Marquess. The Marquess?
Marquis.
The Marquess?
Marquis.
Marquis. Right. Marquess is with an E. Yeah. Marquis must secretly be a villain. She was so rude to her guests.
Are these characters gender swapped as well?
Oh, I don't know. That'd be very meta.
I think they are, but I don't know. Like, isn't Radcliffe an actual author? Or is they just a fictional author? I don't know. But for her to have murdered Adolphus's mother, Mr. Radcliffe constructed the plot so cunningly, I predicted none of it, yet at the end, every part made perfect sense.
That is true, but I feel that emotion far outweighs logic in a matter of plots. I have no patience for those who complain that it was unrealistic in the murders of Adolfo when...
No, the Mysteries of Adolfo is a real book.
Okay, great.
It's like a gothic romance thing, right?
Yeah, the based on like the flap copy and the first page of Northanger Abbey that I read today. Catherine Morland in the original is a naive young woman who is addicted to romantic gothic novels.
Oh, but I've not read The Mysteries of Adolfo yet. Please do not tell me what happens. Spoiler warning.
Not read it, but it is Mr. Radcliffe's best work.
I'm sure it is very good, but all his books are, but I've not been able to find a copy. Oh, okay.
Oh, we're gonna. Oh, how terrible! I cannot stand to see you suffer so. I must lend it to you at once.
True friends lend books.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, would you really, Master Thorpe? That is very kind of you. Huh. Interesting we're doing Master.
My dear M. Morland, nay, Kit, are we not friends? How can I stand by and watch you so grievously injured when the remedy is within my reach? Of course I will lend you the Udolfo. And the Italian, too, if you lack it.
You had your doubts, but are now certain that Isaac is the finest man who has ever existed and the most excellent friend you could ever ask for. But as excellent as Mr. Radcliffe's books are, you can only talk of them for so long.
But I notice your eye wander the room. Is there perhaps someone special you hope to see?
Perhaps?
How marvelous! Tell me all about them.
Her name is Mrs. Helen Tilney. We have met but once. However, until I met your father and yourself, she was my only acquaintance in Bath. I wondered if I would see her again today.
We've totally forgotten about the servant.
Yeah.
The servant has been written out. Ah, I see. A woman.
Yay!
Your favorite piece of dialogue.
It didn't show up in the one I played last week. Oh, I love these in visual novels.
She sounds utterly charming, and of course she was delighted by you. How could she not be? Do you think that ... was Isaac wondering if we are bisexual? if he's got a shot?
Yeah, I think it could be. Like, we dance with him.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. Shoten Chu saying,
I forget what the question was.
I
forget what the prompt was for this.
We're so bad at remembering this stuff. Shoten Chu saying in the chat, Radcliffe apparently is an Anne, so maybe they swapped the gender, but don't know if they published as a Mr. or Mrs. And Dave saying they hope the servant returns. The servant might return. You never know. Mm-hmm. I do love. Oh shoot. So I watched this giant video about what was the game called? Tokimeki Memorial. The other day, which is and I'll link it in the YouTube thing underneath or somewhere on YouTube if you're watching this on YouTube. And it talked about it's a dating simulator from the 1990s where you're like a high school and you're trying to date other high school people. You are not a high school. You are a high school student. Clarify that. Considering the games where you're like
really avant-garde.
you are a high school. Yes. Well, like there's the ones where you're dating pigeons and stuff. So like it's not that far of reach. Anyway, there's so much content in it and it's so hidden behind stuff. So there's like at one point you can fight space aliens. And there's another one where a character gets like kidnapped by like foreign political agents. But like these are like the weird, like most of it is just like you go to the park with the person you want to date. You join the theater club, like most of it's that, but occasionally like if you make the right choices, like you get the weird stuff to happen. And like, so I always hope that there's like weird options hidden in games like this. Okay. Sure. So I think we want her to like us, right?
Yeah. Megan asks whether the lady liked you. Yeah, I think I hope so.
Okay. You're up.
I'm sure of it.
Oh, we're blushing.
So tell me more. What does she look like? Is she rich? Does she have any family?
This is just like Greece now.
Tell me more. Tell me more.
Like, does she have a car? Like, does she have a carriage?
What is her coat like? Does she know about muslins?
She has brown skin with dark eyes and rather dark hair. I do not believe she is rich, for she is but a priest. But I do not believe she is poor either, and I know she has a sister and a brother.
A priest, you say? I like her more and more. I must confess myself very partial to the profession.
He sighs deeply and gives you a significant look.
Okay. You into priests?
Oh, yeah.
We want to know.
Demand to know. Yeah. Dish.
Oh, no reason. I was simply thinking of priests.
I think that what like this really is showing the very different position that like priest had in the UK and England at this time period. Yeah,
Yeah.
just very very different role in the community than we're probably seen in like
Right.
North in other places, such as
Nay, do not distress me. I believe I've said too much. Let us drop the subject.
he tries to frown at you, but cannot help but smile. He's terrible at frowning.
Come, Em Morland. Mr. Allen's gout is troubling her.
That says Mrs. Allen's,
Yeah, Mrs. Allen's gout is troubling her.
but Mrs. Allen doesn't exist in this universe, or like he has a sister. I don't know.
Ah, so soon? Then I shall walk you to your lodgings, for I am loath to be parted from you for even a moment. Coming on a little strong there, Isaac. We must see each other tomorrow after church, so that I may lend you the Udolpho.
I assume like this, their existences seem so lonely, like so very
It's
very
true.
lonely.
I would probably be excited if I went to an event like this where I didn't know anyone and I met someone and we talked about books and they're like, I'm gonna keep hanging out with you.
And like I don't know if these
That
happen
would
every
actually be
night.
nice.
So like it
Yeah.
might be like several days until you get to talk to somebody other than your like chaperone again.
Right.
You're like
Especially if your chaperone is Mr. Allen.
you're like I can't talk about muslin material anymore.
Can only know so much about Mr. Allen's coat.
The following conversation, which takes place between two friends in the pump room one morning, after an acquaintance of 8 or 9 days, is given as a specimen of the delicacy, discretion, originality of thought, and literary taste which marks the reasonableness of that attachment.
Now, Pump Room, I knew of a restaurant called the Pump Room, and I always just assumed, as when I was a kid, that it meant there was like a water pump somewhere in the building. But I don't know if that's true. I don't know what a pump room is.
That could very well be the case.
My dearest creature, what can have made you so late? I have been waiting for you at least this age, and I have 100 things to say to you.
An 100.
100 things to say to you. It's just a social room.
RJ, if I
today.
called you a creature, would you be insulted?
It seems a very familiar thing to call someone, like sort of like calling someone my pet.
Yeah.
Where it's like I think we need to negotiate that.
Yes.
Yeah. Or we have to be like very familiar with each other and our boundaries.
As opposed to knowing each other for 8 or 9 days, I think they said. Have you indeed? I'm very sorry for it, but really I thought I was in very good time. It is but just 1. I hope you have not been here long. Oh, 1 o'clock, I guess. Oh, Bath is full of bathhouses. So the pumps might be part of that. That's a good point.
Could be. Unless that person's joking, which is also possible. Maybe not. What was I going to say? Well, I'll just read Isaac's line. Oh, these 10 ages at least. What have you been doing with yourself all this morning? Have you gone on with Udolpho?
Is it Udolpho or Adolfo?
I have no idea.
Okay. Yes, I've been reading it ever since I woke, and I am got to the Black Veil.
Are you indeed? How delightful. Oh, I would not tell you what is behind the Black Veil for the world. Are you not wild to know? Oh, I was going to say, it seems overly familiar to call someone creature, but also in this age and like this relationship in particular seems like it has gotten very familiar very fast, which kind of makes sense if our protagonist does not know anybody else in this city.
Yeah, Isaac seems pretty lonely as well. Mm-hmm. Oh, yes, quite. What can it be? But do not tell me. I would not be told upon any account. I know it must be a skeleton. I'm sure it is Laurentine skeleton. Like,
spoilers.
I find this dialogue so hard to read out loud. It's like I never know where any sentence is going. Like the word order is so like strange to me, and like I'm sure it's all done on purpose, but it's just like very bizarre.
I don't
Oh,
know if viewers can hear my cat peeping near the microphone now.
I have not heard that yet. But I'll let you
Okay.
know. Oh, I am delighted with the book. I should like to spend my whole life in reading it. I assure you, if it had not been to meet you, I would not have come away from it for all the world. Dave is asking if it's Kurt, that cat, or if it's a different cat.
It is Heidi. So it's going to be little quiet peeps instead of his deep, hearty meow.
You're a line.
Oh, sorry. Dear creature, how much I am obliged to you, and when you have finished Udolfo, we will read the Italian together, and I have made out a list of 10 or 12 more of the same kind for you.
I feel you could say this like so much creepier. Like this exact line.
Dear creature, how much I am obliged to you.
Perfect. Much better. Have you indeed? How glad I am. But are you sure they are all horrid?
Yes, quite sure. For a particular friend of mine, a Master Andrews, one of the sweetest creatures in the world, has read every one of them.
Oh my gosh, you have other friends, Isaac?
Rude. I wish you knew Master Andrews. You would be delighted with him. I think him as beautiful as an angel, and I scold the women amazingly for not admiring him.
Scold them? Really? Are you negging them?
Just overly familiar with everybody. There is nothing I would not do for those who are really my friends. Nothing.
Kill.
I have no
I'd
notion
kill
of
for
loving
them.
people by halves. It is not my nature. That much is apparent. If I were to hear anybody speak slightingly of you, I should fire up in a moment. But that is not at all likely, for you are just the kind of youth to be a great favorite with everyone. Whew, I made it.
I'm imagining him like going like Super Saiyan.
Yeah.
How can you say so, including you? Thank you. Oh. Middle one?
Sure.
Yeah.
Of course. Just yesterday, I saw a woman looking at you so earnestly, I am sure she is in love with you. But you are indifferent to everybody's admiration except that of one lady who shall be nameless.
But you should not persuade me that I think so very much about Miss Tilney, for perhaps I may never see her again. It has been so long. I am convinced that she has left Bath entirely.
Not see her again, my dearest creature. Do not talk of it. I am sure you would be miserable if you thought so.
No, indeed, I should not. I do not pretend to say that I was not very much pleased with her, but while I have Adolfo to read, I feel as if nobody could make me miserable.
It is so odd to me that you should never have read Udolfo before. But, my dearest kid, you have settled what to wear on your head. Have you settled what to wear on your head tonight? I am determined to match you as much as I am able. The women take notice of that sometimes, you know?
Oh, please let us choose what hat we wear. Please, please. But it does not signify if they do.
Signify? Oh, heavens. I make it a rule never to mind what they say. They are the most conceited creatures in the world and think themselves of so much importance. By the by, though I have never thought of it 100 times, I have always forgot to ask you what shade of hair you find most appealing.
Dark
I
light.
would much rather be picking a hat than...
Dark light, red, I hardly know. Red?
We've not met any redheads yet.
Yeah.
I don't think. So
I'm going to go with red.
let's do it.
Dave says, choosing your hat would honestly match the stakes in the novel. That's about the substance it peaks at. Okay. Red.
Indeed.
It seems pretty rare to have red hair in this setting.
My taste is different. I like dark hair better than any other. You must not betray me if you should ever meet with one of your acquaintances answering that description.
Oh, we could have flirted with him by saying light hair. Screwed that up.
I thought that was apparent.
Nope, I'm oblivious, RJ. But...
For heaven's sake, let us move away from this end of the room. Do you know, there are two odious young women who have been staring at me this half hour.
Okay, hold on. Oh. Yes. Extremely unpleasant or repulsive. Okay. I thought it meant that. But
Yeah, I think because we swapped genders, Isaac is a very like men are pigs character, except women are
yeah,
pigs.
it's kind of weird. Oh no, but see, they are leaving.
They are. Well, I am amazingly glad I have got rid of them. And now, what say you to going to Edgar's buildings with me and looking at my new hat? Yes, yes. Let's
Of course.
look at hats.
Only perhaps we may overtake the two young women.
Never mind that. If we make haste, we shall pass by them presently, and I am dying to show you my hat.
But we didn't tell you what sort of hat we were wearing.
Why are there so many people on this street? I can hardly see where. Delightful! It is Mrs. Morland and my sister.
Jemima, what a wonderful surprise.
Kit, it's so good to see you. Have you been enjoying Bath?
Is Jane the same as Jemima?
I don't know. Is it good to see me too, Mrs. Morland? I guess it is.
Oh, no, different people.
Oh no, different people. Okay. Master Thorpe. Yes. It is very good. Unaccountably good to, Yes.
Wow, those are some expressions on these characters' faces.
So who is your new friend, Isaac? This is M. Kit Morland, Mrs. Morland's sibling. We are the very best of friends.
I like the comment in the chat that someone wrote and she thought they'd read this book, but now they're pretty sure they've only seen a BBC version. Yep, I haven't even seen that. It is a pleasure to meet you, Mrs. Thorpe. Mrs. Thorpe is a stout young woman of middling height who seems pretty tall, to be honest. Like, at least as tall as the rest of us. Who seems fearful of being too much like a lady unless she is easy where she ought to be civil and impudent where she might be allowed to be easy.
Likewise. Are you fond of an open carriage, M. Morland? I thought it said open marriage at first.
Is this a euphemism? And what is it a euphemism for?
Yeah.
Yes, very. I have hardly ever an opportunity of being in one, but I am particularly fond of it.
I'm glad of it. I will drive you out in mine. In fact, I will dress you up in Lens. I will drive you up, not dress you up. I will drive you up Lansdowne Hill tomorrow. How delightful that will be. My dearest Kit, I quite envy you. But I am afraid, sister, you will not have room for a third. Open carriages is from the book. They're a big deal.
Okay.
A third indeed. No, I did not come to Bath to drive my brothers around. That would be a good joke, Faith. Morland must take care of you.
Okay. From what I know, though, us being seen in an open carriage with a person...
Oh, right. That could be a scandal.
That seems pretty scandalous, so I'm kind of shocked. It's probably only because we're, like, gender ambiguous that they're even letting us do this. Then follows a very long and very dull conversation. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I wonder if an open carriage is less controversial than a closed carriage. Because, like, who knows what's going on in there? True.
Because it is, like, is being seen worse than not being seen?
I don't know.
Yeah. You know, the only thing worse than being talked about is not being talked about, I suppose. Then follows a very long and very dull conversation in which Mrs. Thorpe tells you all about her gig, her horse, how much she paid for both, and all the ways in which they are superior. A gig is a riding thing, a horse thing.
Look at how upset we look.
This is interspersed with a short, decisive sentence of praise or condemnation on the appearance of every man you pass. Whew. I am not impressed with this person. You struggle to think of anything to say that could be of interest to someone with whom you appear to have so little in common. Well, they like hats. You venture at last.
We both have hats.
Yeah. How do you hat? You venture at last a question on the topic always uppermost in your thoughts. Please be about hats. Oh, have you ever read Adolfo, Mrs. Thorpe?
Dolfo. Oh, lady. Not I. I never read novels. I have better things to do. Did she just misgender us?
It's capital L, so I think it's a religious thing.
Oh, it's like she's saying, oh, Lord. But it's
Oh, I was thinking it was more like, oh, I can't remember the lady something something.
I don't know.
That seems more Catholic though, so I don't know. I think you must like Adelpho. If you were to read it, it is so very interesting. Have you ever read Adelpho?
Me? No.
No, I have not either.
Not familiar. Not I, Faith. No, if I read any, it shall be Mr. Radcliffe's. His novels are amusing enough, and there is some fun and nature in them.
Okay. I thought Mr. Radcliffe had written Adelpho.
Delpho, me too. I don't know. Maybe this is...
Oh.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay. Yeah, no. Oh, yeah. Burn.
Was it?
Written.
I remember, so it was. I was thinking of that other stupid book.
Cutting you down to size slightly.
Jane.
Yeah. This conversation brings you to the door of Mr. Thorpe's lodgings, and the feelings of the discerning and unprejudiced reader give way to the feelings of the dutiful and affectionate daughter.
Ah, Father, how do you do? Where did you get that quiz of a hat? Makes you look like an old warlock. Best line in the game so far.
Definitely. Also, I love the guy hiding behind the book on the right-hand side of this.
Yep. He also looks like a warlock, or they.
True. One of my favorite things about visual novels is how they like color code everybody. Mm-hmm. And they like every outfit you wear is the same. Like
it ends up feeling very like Power Rangers.
Yes. It's just so very funny though. Like, I think it's like, I don't know. Can you imagine having a friend who only wore like orange clothing?
I think that'd be fun. I remember seeing a like Humans of New York photo, which was like this elderly woman who had green hair and was wearing an all green outfit. And like her quote was like, I used to change colors every week, but I was happiest when I was green. So now I'm just always green.
That's awesome.
I thought that was awesome. Yeah.
Yes.
It's me. Dearest Jane, I am glad to see you in Bath at last. And with Mrs. Morland, how good it is to see you again. We have been quite bereft without you, have we not, Isaac? That's not Isaac. Where's Isaac? Is he not in this shot?
Yeah,
there he is.
The next page.
It feels like an age since I saw you.
Sorry, I was just doing something.
Oh, goodness. Miss Master Thorpe,
Jemima's dress looks terrible. Is it just me?
Oh.
I do not care for it.
I mean, are we supposed to be slightly lower class than these other people?
I don't know. It just seems really boring. There's not enough bits.
Not enough ruffles.
Yeah, not enough ruffles. It's made of a terrible type of muslin.
But we've not all been introduced, Mr. Hughes. This is Mrs. Jemima Morland, who stayed with us over Christmas. And this is her charming sibling, M. Kit Morland. Mrs. Morland, M. Morland, this is my friend, Mr. Hughes. He's only recently arrived in Bath himself.
Oh, you're right. Like, Mr. Hughes doesn't have a hat. Like, that has to be socially unacceptable, right?
Where is your hat?
Where's your hat, Mr. Hughes?
Also, is his hair supposed to be multiple colors, or is this just like a lighting situation?
I assumed it was just lighting.
I do like how purple he is.
I like that as well. It is a pleasure to meet you, Mr. Hughes.
Any friend of the Thorpes is a friend of mine. I might say the same thing. Are you both new to the city as well?
Fairly new, sir. Jemima is recently come from Oxford with Mrs. Thorpe, but I have been in Bath for nearly a fortnight.
After working hard on their studies, no doubt.
Jemima laughs awkwardly and Jane sneers. Mr. Hughes seems not to notice.
Has the city been to your liking, M. Morland?
Yes, very. I'm completely new to the idea of multiple people in the same place, evidently.
Made 2 whole friends. It seems very demanding for young people, all this business of finding partners and then dancing with them. I'm glad that an old man like myself need only worry about the line to taste the waters.
Mr. Hughes appears to be a very friendly but awkward widower around 50 years of age, with little of interest to offer to yourself or any other young person. Isaac and Jane ignore him with an ease born of repeated practice. He has a book. He likes reading. Clearly, he's of great interest to us. Give me your book.
What are you reading?
I want
Make your
to find out.
escape.
I want to find out what he's reading.
Yeah, for sure.
Have you been to Bath before, Mr. Hughes?
A number of times over the years. It seems to have become more crowded every year.
It is certainly very crowded.
But the weather has been generally fine, which is a blessing.
Yes, I'm glad of the fine weather. Ask about the book. Oh my gosh, kid. How are you so bad at this? You're being very dull. You should suggest a topic of conversation about yourself instead of making Mr. Hughes carry the conversation. But what do old men like to talk about? Mr. Allen
has a book. Come on.
Would wish to speak of fashion were he here, but Mr. Hughes appears not to have changed his wardrobe significantly since the previous century. He's also, though, like that purple thing is great. We all like it. Of course,
isn't like purple dye supposed to be very expensive?
It could
at
just
this
not
stage
be in
in
fashion,
history,
though.
probably.
Yeah. Of course, there was one topic on which you always have plenty to say. Honestly, I also just like the number of buttons it has. I think our coat does not have enough buttons.
It's true.
3 buttons, unacceptable. Whereas I see like 1, 2, 3, like at least 9 buttonholes, plus the waistcoat buttons. Have you read Adolfo, Mr.? Oh, we don't even get to choose.
We're always talking about Adolfo. Adolfo, is that a novel? I remember Master Thorpe mentioned a title or something like that.
Okay. Are all Regency novels about reading books? Like Regency romances?
I don't think so.
Because like
I
reading
think this
books
one in particular.
Okay, reading books is like like an element of the one I'm reading right now as well. The characters talk about reading like these exact same types of books all the time.
I'm sure it was like in fashion at the time.
I guess they didn't have a lot else to do if you were like, rich.
Right, and I don't know enough about the history of the printed word to know like if books or like novels were a newly accessible, fashionable form of entertainment.
Who knows? Okay. Yes, The Mysteries of Adelpho by Mr. Aaron Radcliffe. Isaac and I agree that it is the best novel ever written.
It must be very fine, I am sure, if Master Thorpe and yourself both hold the way in such high esteem. I'm making this one mumbly. That's my choice for this voice because he can't see his mouth. Is it very droll? I must own that I have trouble enjoying any story which does not make me laugh.
Until now, you would consider yourself prepared to weather any criticism of Mr. Radcliffe's works. Chat says novels were a new form of entertainment. To those who question his accuracy, his taste, even his morals, you have naught but scorn. For any child could recognize the truth, the beauty, the innate goodness of his works. We definitely are like 17 years old. But for all the joy his novels have brought you, despite the countless emotions you have been transported to by his words, they are not inclined to make you laugh. No, it is not very droll. Isn't droll spelled like with an E? I don't know.
I don't think so.
Oh, okay. Apparently, people were very concerned that novels were leading women to sin and insanity. People tend to be worried that literally everything is leading women to sin and insanity. But yeah, romantic novels.
So these conversations are like the sort of modern day equivalent is if our protagonist just went around and asked everybody like, "Hey, are you on Instagram? Who do you follow? What are your favorite Instagram accounts?"
Yeah, I guess. I guess so.
I don't know. I don't know what the modern leading women to sin is.
It's watching feminist videos on YouTube. Right? Obviously. Okay, it has many other virtues. Perhaps it's not such a fine book after all. Humor is shallow. Oh, we're gonna go with the edgy teen answer.
You just don't understand real literature. No, I think I'd be inclined to defend it by saying it has many other virtues.
Okay.
Dave mentioning that there was a lot of satire within Austen's writing in this book because it has a lot of those attitudes. I think that makes sense. I always feel like Jane Austen of what I've read of her, does not get enough credit for being as funny as she is, because her humor does not always translate to modern day very well. But like reading the summary of the plot of this novel, Northanger Abbey, I was like, oh, this is like a sort of a parody of surely what people said about Jane Austen's books, that like these frivolous women are addicted to novels.
I remember hearing that as well. And I think it is very tough to get the humor in some of these older books if you're not familiar with the context surrounding them.
I'm sure it does. The world would be very dull if all novels were of the same sort.
You're not sure that you would find the world dull if all novels were like those of Mr. Radcliffe, but you will admit that it might be dull for Mr. Hughes. What is your favorite novel, Mr. Hughes? If you do not say you have a favorite novel, I'm annoyed at the artist. Okay. Acceptable.
It is not a novel at all, but a play. 12th Night.
Oh, because it is so diverting? I'm showing my ignorance of theater now as well.
Amongst other reasons.
Now that I think on it, on the subject of Shakespeare, my taste match yours. I much prefer her comedies. What do you think her first name is? The tragedies are so sad, and the history is so dull.
Wilma Shakespeare. Not even Macbeth with its warlocks and prophecies?
Everyone loves a good warlock story. I had forgotten Macbeth. You are right. I do like it. And although Macbeth herself dies, the story ends happily for Scotland, so it is not entirely a tragedy. I feel that for many people in England, anything going right for Scotland is a tragedy.
It ends happily for the warlocks as well. This person is a warlock.
100%, yes. Yes, I suppose it does.
Oh, but the hour grows late. We should not keep you any longer. Is it so very late? Could we not talk a little longer?
Oh, okay. So I guess at the very least, talking to this guy allowed these two to talk more. Mm-hmm. Isaac smiles at your sister and sighs deeply. I thought Isaac was crushing on us.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Well, I guess our sister is, I don't know, maybe more receptive. But the hour really is growing late, and the Allens will wish to speak to Jemima. You say your goodbyes and make your way back to your lodgings.
And Morlin, before you go, you are entirely charming. You will dance with me this evening, yes? Of course you will. I don't want to dance with Jane. Honestly.
No, I was going to say no. You do not think Mrs. Thorpe the most charming woman in the world, but with Mrs. Tilney gone from Bath, this is possibly the only offer you will receive for the rest of your trip. Dude, have more self-confidence.
We should have told Isaac we liked blondes.
Yeah. Saying yes would be the most sensible and polite path, if not the most enjoyable. No. No.
Are we saying no?
Yes.
What's that? Poor kid is tired and out of temper.
We were promised hats, and we have seen no hats.
We've not even seen Isaac's hat. Ah, of course. Entirely understandable. Well, kid, how do you like my friend Thorpe?
I do not like her at all, I think is what we've decided upon.
Yeah, I think. That quite surprises me. She is as good-natured a gill as ever lived. A gill or a girl? Was that a gill? A gill. She is a gill. She's a fish person. A little of a rattle. But that will recommend her to many. How do you like the rest of the family?
Very much, particularly Isaac. I have no strong feelings one way or another. They seem impossible to escape.
I think we like Isaac.
Okay.
I think Isaac talks books with us.
Yeah, we like Isaac. He's fine.
I'm very glad to hear you say so. He has so much good sense, and is so thoroughly unaffected and amiable. I always wanted you to know him, and he seems very fond of you. He said the highest things in your praise that could possibly be.
Your sister seems as fond of Isaac as you are.
Uh-oh.
You hardly mentioned anything of him when you wrote to me after a visit to the Thorpes.
Because I thought I should soon see you myself. I I hope you will be a great deal together. I hope you will be a great deal together while you are in Bath, okay? He is a most amiable boy. Such a superior understanding. The peeps from the cat are going to get more aggressive because it's past 7 o'clock now and I have not fed her yet.
Oh no. Well, we won't go that much longer.
Okay. But I have another engagement. We must speak again another time, dear Kit. I need not ask you whether you are happy in Bath, but with such a companion and friend as Isaac Thorpe, it would be impossible for you to be otherwise.
I never was so happy before, and now you are come, it will be more delightful than ever. But you are much happier still to get back to your book. Do you need to go and feed your cat? Do you want to take a break now, or do we want to stop?
She can wait. Like she is really rude is the thing. Like she's not starving.
Well, let's try and get through this night
rude.
Let's try to get through this night at the ball, and then I think we'll stop for the evening. Another night, another ball without a partner, but it is better than having to dance with Mrs. Thorpe. And oh look, she is left to play cards. How shall you console yourself for the loss?
Master Thorpe, may I have the honor of a dance? Oh, I would so love to dance. But nothing shall induce me to join the set before Kit can join it too.
Thank you, Isaac. You are the dearest friend I could hope for.
How thoughtful you are, Master Thorpe.
I realize I don't do voices for anybody when I do these things.
No sacrifice is too great for a true friend.
Oh my gosh, Isaac is so annoying.
I'm also injecting a lot of
yeah.
Of doing a specific reading of Isaac.
You playing Isaac makes them a very annoying character. You continue as you are for a full 3 minutes.
My dear creature, I'm afraid I must leave you. Your sister is so amazingly impatient to begin, and I know you'll not mind my going away.
I just realized.
What the fuck happened to this true friend shit?
Also, where's Isaac's hat?
Where's your hat, Isaac?
He said he was going to wear the same hat as us. Unacceptable. Rude. Isaac is no longer his friend. We're pointing out his hypocrisy.
Friendship ended with Isaac. Mr. Hughes is my new best friend.
You said otherwise a moment ago.
What do you mean? Come now, kid. You cannot fault Isaac for wishing to dance.
I do love Jemima's, worried expression.
Mm-hmm. I'm apparently nailing Isaac.
Yeah. That is not what I'm faulting him for. Do you not see what he is doing, Jemima? No hat.
I'm faulting him for not wearing a fucking hat. I see only that you are being cruel to your friend for no purpose. For no purpose.
Oh, never mind. Enjoy your dance.
He did say literally 2 minutes ago that he would not dance until we were dancing.
It was
3 minutes. Goodbye, my dear.
It was 3 minutes, but that's not even a song in this time period. And now you share the discredit of wanting a partner with your scores of other solitary young people sitting alone at the edges of the room. Yep, there's no one for me to possibly dance with amongst scores of other solitary young people. But fortitude in the face of injustice is what dignifies the character of a true heroic figure. You suffer, but no murmur passes your lips. Yet, wait, who is that entering the room, looking as handsome as ever? Could it be Mrs. Tilney? And who is that beautiful man on her arm?
He's cute.
Oh, her brother, her husband.
Let's assume her brother. I know the real answer is her brother, but
this is a really interesting choice to make, actually. Because that I feel dramatically changes the game.
Are we choosing
story.
or are we just picking what our assumption is?
I think we're choosing what.
Or can we? Ooh, if we make it her husband, can we still romance them both?
Do you want to romance both of them?
I mean, sure.
Okay,
we chose all the options. We want all the options.
True, she has never mentioned a husband, but why throw away a perfect opportunity to imagine her lost to you forever? But they are walking the other way. You want to know. Wait, it is Mr. Thorpe's friend, Mr. Hughes. How does he know the Tilneys? Oh, and Mrs. Tilney has caught your eye.
Good evening, Morland.
I'm surprised to see you again, madame. I thought you had left Bath. I thought that said Earth for a second.
You left Earth. I thought you were one of the aliens. I had for a week and then returned with my brother.
Okay. So we don't get to change it. That would be fun. That would be really fun if we got to make those decisions. Her brother, of course.
You can tell because they're color-coded. I know that after such a long absence you may have forgotten me entirely, but if it is not too forward from a stranger, may I request the pleasure of a dance?
Okay. How do genetics work for everyone's colors? Like if our character, like if we had children, would they be like, because they can't just clearly go to the same colors, like a merging of the two, because then everyone would just end up like the same probably at some point.
Right. And stripes are not in fashion yet.
Polka dots. Yeah, I don't know. I guess maybe
red hat, blue coat kind of thing.
Yeah, or maybe it sticks with gender lines. I don't know. Okay. Yes, we went to dance. We were so obsessed. Dance.
I'm glad to hear it. Hey there, Morland. What is the meaning of this? I thought you and I would have danced together.
I said no.
No, I hate you.
I wonder you should think so, for I said no when you asked. What?
This is a cursed shabby trick. I only came for the sake of dancing with you, and I firmly believe you were engaged to me ever since yesterday. And here have I been telling all my acquaintance that I was going to dance with the handsomest partner in the room. When they see you standing up with somebody else, they will quiz me famously. Well, you shouldn't have said that shit.
No, we should have. It was a lie. They will never think of me after such a description as that.
By heavens, if they do not, I will kick them out of the room for blockheads. What chit have you there?
Whoa. Mrs. Helen Tilney of Gloucester. Gloucestershire. And we were...
Tilney. I do not know her. A good figure of a woman, well put together. Does she want a horse? Here is a friend of mine, Sally Fletcher, has got one to sell that would suit anybody. Gosh, Jane is like that really aggressive Facebook friend who like you haven't talked to in a while, but is very demanding and is like, please follow my group where I sell essential oils or whatever.
Sorry, the idea that the 19th century equivalent is like essential horses.
Yeah.
I guess I
got horses.
It's like, I'm sick. You need to go riding. Riding cures everything that ails you.
If you don't need to buy a horse, I could also sign you up to sell horses. I get made a commission if I enlist other people to sell horses. A famous clever animal for the road. Only 40 guineas. 50 mines to buy it myself. For it is one of my maxims always to buy a good horse when I meet with one. But it would not answer my purpose, for it would not do for the field. What are you talking about?
Mrs. Tilney shows no signs of enthusiasm for buying a horse. You begin to worry that Mrs. Thorpe will never leave. Just go. We're supposed to dance. Go dance. But then she's borne off by the resistless pressure of a long string of passing gentlemen.
That lady would have put me out of patience had she stayed with you half a minute longer. She has no business to withdraw the attention of my partner from me. I consider a country dance as an emblem of marriage. Fidelity and compliance are the principal duties of both. Those women who do not choose to dance or marry themselves have no business with the partners or husbands of their neighbors.
But they are such very difficult things. Different things. People that marry can never part. People that dance only stand opposite each other for half an hour.
It's a long dance. Taken in that light, certainly their resemblance is not striking, but I think I can place them in a similar view. You will allow, I think, that both are an engagement between two people, formed for the advantage of each, and that once the state is entered, the couple belong exclusively to each other until the moment of dissolution.
I will disagree with this statement. Sometimes there is an advantage for only one person. Especially in this time period.
Then That it is their duty each to endeavour to give the other no cause for wishing themselves elsewhere, and their best interest to keep their own imaginations from wandering towards their neighbours, or fancying that they should have been better off with anyone else. You will allow all this?
Oh, I'm so glad that it's not asking us to actually give a response, because I don't know. Yes.
Yeah, I would have chosen if there was like a no, I believe in polyamory response. I would have gone with that one. But I think I understand that would have made this a very complex game to script and program.
Well, some of these games can be very complex. Yes,
it's
to be
true.
sure. As you stated,
this one's already pretty complex.
More so than I expected for something that's based on a novel, to be honest.
Yeah.
As you stated, all this sounds very well, but still, they are so very different.
This disposition on your side is rather alarming. May I not thence interfere that your notions of the duties of the dancing state are not so strict? Are our duties of the... Okay. Have I reason to fear that if some other person were to pass by, there would be nothing to restrain you from conversing with them as long as you chose?
Mrs. Thorpe is such a very particular friend of my sister's that if she talks to me, I must talk to her again. But there are hardly 5 people in the room beside her that I have any acquaintance with.
And is that to be my only security? Alas, alas.
Nay, I am sure you cannot have a better, for if I do not know anybody, it is impossible for me to talk to them, and besides, I do not want to talk to anybody.
Now you have given me a security worth having, and I shall proceed with courage. Do you find Bath as agreeable as when I had the honour of making the inquiry before?
Yes, quite. More so, indeed. I have a friend now.
More so. Take care, or you will forget to be tired of it at the proper time. Bath, compared with London, has little variety, so everybody finds out every year when they run out of money. So everybody finds out. I did the inflection on that wrong, but...
Well, other people must judge for themselves, but I, who live in a small retired village in the country, can never find greater sameness in such a place as this than in my own home. One day in the country is exactly like another.
Well, when you once more sink into that abyss, you will have more to say. You will be able to talk of Bath, and of all that you did there. Here. We are.
But every dance comes to an end, and eventually Mrs. Tilney leaves you to return to your solitary vigil on the edge of the room. Having nobody to dance with at present, you decide to settle for some conversation. Find Isaac. Oh, Mr. Hughes again.
Our 2 friends. Who do we want to talk novels with?
Isaac. Like, I guess we can gossip about the hot priest to Isaac. Isaac's into priests.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Let's go find Isaac.
Isaac will want to hear the priest gossip, yeah.
True.
My dearest creature, I've been looking for you this hour. What could induce you to come into this set when you knew I was in the other? I've been quite wretched without you.
Okay. Set is clearly some sort of dancing thing, but it's also the word for like where badgers live. So that gives this a much more amusing quality to me. My dear Isaac, how is it possible for me to get at you? I could not even see where you were. It's not like you're wearing bright yellow. But look at that young gentleman. It is Mrs. Tilney's brother.
Oh, heavens, you don't say so. What a delightful boy. I never saw anything half so beautiful. But where is his all-conquering sister? Point her out to me this instant. Mrs. Morland, you are not to listen. We are not talking about you.
Showed you in the set saying that they're there for a badger retelling of this story. Yeah, just like Wind in the Willow style, like stop motion animation.
I would love that. But what is all this whispering about? What is going on? There now, I knew how it would be. Ye women have such restless curiosity. But be satisfied, for you are not to know anything at all of the matter.
And indeed, he does not bring up the subject again. With Jemima and Isaac at your side, you're no longer alone, but you begin to doubt the happiness of a situation which, confining you entirely to your friend and sister, gives you a very little share in the notice of either. They are always engaged in some sentimental discussion or lively dispute, and always in such whispering voices that, though your opinion is frequently called for, you are never able to make out the subject well enough to give any. At last, after much protest, Isaac manages to persuade himself to dance again with Jemima, and you're once again alone. You've been watching the dancers for so long that their faces have become a monotonous blur. I thought we never got tired of Bath. But then Mr. Hughes approaches, accompanied by the one person you are the most curious to meet, Master Tilney.
Mm-hmm. I beg your pardon, Morland, but I cannot get to Master Thorpe, and Mr. Thorpe said he was sure you would not have the least objection to letting in this young gentleman by you.
Nothing could make me happier.
Thank you. Master Tilney, this is M. Morland. He's a friend of the Thorpes and of Mr. Allen, who I introduced you to earlier.
Master Tilney has a good figure, a comely face, and an air of elegance.
I think he's a cutie. Like the way he's drawn. It is a pleasure to make your acquaintance, M. Morland. My sister has told me much of you.
She has? How? How?
I met a person with a hat. Oh, then you need no more introduction. Good evening to you both.
Mr. Hughes goes off to read his very funny novel in a corner.
Mm-hmm.
Would you like to dance, Mr. Tilney? Master Tilney?
Getting right to business this time. I love it. I would be delighted.
Yeah, desperate. And so you establish how well the other likes Bath, how much you admire its buildings and surrounding country, whether you draw or play or sing, and whether you're fond of riding on horseback. So I'm guessing the answers were no, 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 and no. In all probability, not an observation is made by either of you, which has not been made by some thousands of times before under this roof in every Bath season, but nevertheless, you enjoy Master Tilney's company. The only notable fact you learn about Master Tilney is that he is very fond of painting, and he hopes to find some suitable subjects during a stay in Bath. Can we choose to pose for him?
The gardens at home are quite lovely, but there are only so many angles from which to paint the same stand of trees.
Oh, you must consider angles when you paint. I thought them only relevant to geometry. Oh, Kit.
But there is all manner of geometry in art. The plane of the ground, the angle of the sun, perspective lines dictating the manner in which distant objects diminish.
I had no idea you had to consider so much. I thought you merely looked at the scene and then drew what you see, although I always found that more difficult than I expected.
Everyone finds that difficult. That is why we turn to geometry, to make the task easier.
You find it hard to imagine how adding geometry to something would make it easier.
How fascinating.
Okay.
I want to get it. I'm glad you think so. Consider this room. It is shaped like a box, but to our eyes the further end shrinks away to form a sort of truncated triangle. The lines of the roof and the floor converge towards the center.
No, this room is just very poorly made.
And the lines of the cornices above and the wainscoting below all follow, as if all the lines recede to the same distant point on the horizon.
You follow his hands as they move through the air, forming glittering lines in your mind's eye. The previously unremarkable room becomes a mass of shapes and angles. I feel as if I could draw it all perfectly now. Okay, laying it on a bit thick there, Kit. But of course, I could not. Okay, good.
Nor could I. But there is beauty in imperfection. Were I to draw this room, I would start with the true rigid geometry and then complicate it.
He tilts his head in a thoughtful manner, his eyes following the lines of the room.
I might accentuate the shadows under the busts on the wall so that they seemed like judging eyes, looking down in disapproval, and increase the angle of the perspective so that the room seemed almost infinitely large, the doors impossibly huge and far away. And then the dancers, a faceless mass, all in different colors, yet all the same in the eyes of the infinite.
How horrible.
Oh, yes, I suppose it is. I apologize, then, Morland. I do not actually consider the people here to be...
No, Master Tilney, you must understand me. I am sorry. No artist wishes to be told their ideas are horrible, I am sure, but intended as a compliment to your imagination.
In that case, I am complimented. Thank you.
Cthulhu confirmed. Yep. You sent such a delightful chill down my spine. I shall remember it with pleasure every time I look up at those faces.
I love how fast we're hitting it off.
I would love to see the painting, were you ever to create it.
Thank you again. But alas, it would be difficult to set up my easel here without being knocked down by the crowd. This is one reason I usually restrict myself to lonely fields and distant cityscapes.
They sound wonderful as well. What subject are you painting at present?
None. At present I am attempting, with little success, to translate a novel in Punjabi that my father brought with him from India.
How clever you are, or why not simply read a book in English?
Let's not do the racist one. How clever you are.
I can only speak French, and not very well. That's an accurate sentence for me, as well as Kit.
And me, yeah.
Potentially the only thing Kit and I have in common, really. You had first attempted to learn Cantonese from your grandmother, but all of the other children were learning French, and that seemed both easier and more fashionable. You failed to learn even this most English-like of foreign languages, but did learn a great respect for those who managed to succeed where you have failed.
I likely have much difficulty reading Punjabi as you do speaking French, but my father loved the story, so I continue to try for his sake. It does help to know that the romance depicted is very tragic.
Oh, do you prefer tragic endings, Master Tilney? I must admit that I prefer everything to end happily, although the story is more enjoyable if the characters face difficulties along the way.
My tastes match yours exactly. What purpose is suffering if there is no joy to be found at the end of it? But if there is to be tragedy, it should be as tragic as possible. Either nobody I like very much should die, or all of them should. I hope that does not strike you as too bloodthirsty.
Wild. Not at all.
Vampire confirmed.
Have you read The Horrid Mysteries? Is The Horrid Mysteries a real book? Because that is an amazing title for a book.
I have not. Are they horrible in the complimentary sense?
They are very horrible, but the heroine, if you can call her that, was so awful that I was glad to see her die. And though it was sad when she murdered so many people, there was a sort of beauty to it. Oh, but how now you must think I am too bloodthirsty.
No more than I. The Horrid Mysteries, you say. I shall find a copy for myself.
You speak in similarly cheerful topics for some time, to the mutual enjoyment of you both. Eventually, the conversation reaches a natural pause, and it comes to you to think of something to say. How well your sister dances, how well you dance. I'm glad to have met you and your sister. Say nothing.
I think I'm glad to have met you and your sister, because I think that leaves both of our options open.
Yes, okay.
Thank you, Morland. We are glad to have met you as well. Good evening again, Morland. I see you've met my brother. You've been speaking, no doubt, of the distressing lack of lace this season.
Yes, of course, the lack of lace. How could I not have noticed that earlier?
We were not. No, but what else could two young people be discussing so earnestly? Hats? Your love of country walks?
Okay, this game is promising
hats.
a lot of discussion of hats, and there's no discussion of hats.
Are we the only person with a hat so far? No.
The person we don't like was wearing a hat as well.
Yeah, James wearing a hat, yeah.
But still, there's a lot of discussion about hats, or there's a lot of discussion about discussing hats, and no actual discussion of hats.
We want to talk hats. We want to see multiple hats.
I want to choose a different hat. I do love
I like this hat that we have, but...
I want to see the options, though. Is there a warlock hat I can wear instead? Because that's what I want to wear.
Could we have a hat with a little bird on it, perhaps?
Mm-hmm, yep. I do love country walks. Although it occurs to me that I've not taken one in Bath. Are there many pretty parks?
Indeed. The view from beach and cliff is especially calming.
In a different visual novel, beach and cliff would be a very different location.
Everyone's favorite anime character.
Exactly. Oh, I should love to see it. If only I had a partner. Wink, wink.
Wink. There are two before you. Should you enjoy a walk with my sister and I, Morland? I hope we are romancing them both. Very much
so. Do not let us put it off. Let us go tomorrow.
That is a fine idea. Although, I do worry that it might rain. If so, I would prefer to delay until the weather is fine.
Of course, we cannot walk in the rain, but I'm sure it will be fine.
It is settled then. We shall see you at 12 o'clock tomorrow.
Okay. I think that's a good stopping point for this game.
We've got a date set.
Yes, perfect. Back to this one. Hi, yes, again, me. Thanks for joining us as we play through this game. I have no idea how much of this game we've gotten through. I'm going to assume like 10%. I think this game is very long.
I'm enjoying it so far,
It's
despite the lack of hat options.
just let me choose hats. Really, like other video games know how important it is hat choices are, but not this one apparently. But yeah, thanks for joining us on this thing, checking it out. Maybe we'll stream more of it this week. I am going to be streaming the other 2 Fridays this month in January. More Regency romance visual novels. I've only been able to find 2 Regency romance visual novels, so I'll either be playing more of this one or more of the one that I played last week as well. Lady's Choice, I think. Good point, Dave. No one has even mentioned Northanger Abbey yet.
Not relevant to the plot of this version.
Maybe it becomes relevant. But yeah, so I'll be back playing something else next Friday. There's a lot of other videos on YouTube if you're looking at it. Check them out if you want to. Podcast comes out first and third Tuesday of every month. Our next episode is about reading in the pandemic and our reading resolutions and intentions for 2021. So check that out. It's Book Club for Masochists or bookclub4m.com. So thanks for tuning in, and the sign off I have of stay safe and stay spooky doesn't work so well for Regency romance visual novels, though we were talking about horrid mysteries. So
we were, yeah.
So there's that at least. Thanks for tuning in, and have a great weekend.
Thanks for watching.